I'd like to tell you about a conversation I had recently. I work at a tech startup and we build psychometric tests. A customer was talking to me about wildcards, people that they're bringing through to interview and hiring that they wouldn't have done before. And these wildcards are quite simply unexpected candidates. They're the ones who don't look great on paper, who have non-traditional backgrounds, who don't have years of experience, or the fanciest past employers. And this customer told me, we used to make sure every single demand from the job ad was fulfilled before we even talked to a candidate. It often didn't leave us many options, but we thought it necessary. Now, what she also told me is that these wildcards are turning out to be amazing. They're onboarding more quickly, picking up skills readily, and they're staying for longer. They're appreciated by colleagues, they're enjoying the work, and they get the organizational culture. And what struck me was, I'm a wildcard at my company. Lord knows I've felt like one at times, but I also know I'm not alone in that. In fact, of the 50 people in growing at Alva, most of us are wildcards. We're a ragtag bunch of bowls champions, film graduates, and ex-therapists. So on paper, many of us don't look like a safe bet for a tech startup. Sounds risky, doesn't it? Spending time with long-shot applicants that don't seem like a great fit on paper. But no, it's really about looking deeper and asking, who do we need on our team? Where do we need to go and who can help us get there? So let's think about skills. You and me, we're in HR. We're the key players who can help others find the job that's the perfect fit. But to make that happen, we surely need to know what core skills are needed to help a person flourish. And now, answering this question used to be all about listing qualifications. You should have 3 years of experience working with this software, or this machine, or this cashier system. But this is now rapidly changing. As you know, we're in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution and a skills transformation. So job skills are being outdated at a rate that we have never seen before. The World Economic Forum estimates that 40% of today's job skills will have changed in just 5 years, and that an astounding 1 billion people, so 12% of the world's population, will need reskilling in the coming decade. Now, automation and digital technologies are some of the major drivers of this shift, obviously. The COVID-19 pandemic has only further exposed these challenges by catalyzing the shift to digital solutions. McKinsey reports that the pandemic accelerated this trend to remote work, e-commerce, and automation, with 25% more workers than previously estimated potentially needed to change occupations. Now, the most common response to this shift is to call for reskilling, so using education to replace outdated skill sets. And of course, this is an important piece of the puzzle, but I argue that the challenges ahead call for a broader mind shift in how we run our people operations. The reason is that the transformation is driven just as much by soft skills as hard skills. So LinkedIn's Emerging Jobs report shows that many of the roles that are rapidly growing in demand don't involve a long list of hard skills. What they all have in common, however, is that they require a substantial list of soft skills: flexibility, team orientation, problem solving, creativity, to name a few. And for the longest time, soft skills have remained undervalued, but now this is finally shifting. And though soft skills might seem fluffy, they're actually a lot more robust to changing circumstances than their cousin hard skills. So take, for example, a conversation that a friend told me about. She had been talking with her 16-year-old nephew, Sam. And Sam was panicking about what A levels to choose and how they'd apply to his future job prospects. And my friend had had a rough road into work, but it was starting to pick up for her, and she applied what she'd learned through costly time and error. She said, "Don't worry about what jobs might be out there. Study what you love. Your passion and your drive will push you to succeed. Learn what you're good at, and the job will unfold." And this is true for all of us. We all need to know what our soft skills are. My friend knows that her nephew, besides being smart, passionate, and driven, is also a team player, entrepreneurial, a leader, and a cheerleader of his younger sister's dance career. All these are soft skills that he will be able to apply to any career path that he chooses. The reason this matters is because upskilling a team with hard skills in 2021 doesn't mean that those skills will serve them in 2025 or beyond. This rapid tempo of change will only escalate as the fourth industrial revolution continues to emerge. A recent report by Deloitte showed that only 17% of employers say they will be able to foresee the skills needed by their organization 3 years down the road. So what does this mean? Simply that learning on the job and dealing with change will need to be the new normal. And not only that, part of the new normal for recruiters will also be to hire people who don't tick all the boxes for hard skills and experience. And what I find really interesting about this is that it offers us an opportunity for a mind shift in the world of work. And this mind shift is about focusing more on future potential and soft skills in all of our hiring practices. Remember our wildcards? Have you been wondering what made the difference? Well, this recruiter had realized one simple thing. When it comes to work performance, what matters most is who the person is. So let me give you an example. At our tech startup, we need loads of engineers. We need them smart, and we need them to be at the top of their game so that we are able to build the best product and continue to build the business to lead the market. When we're looking for engineers, do you think it's important that they went to the best university and boast the best looking CV? How long they've stayed at each job? Surely the caliber of their last employer speaks volumes. Really? Well, since when does that social proof really tell us who can build the best product? As we say in science, correlation isn't causation. Just because someone's worked at a great company or been to an amazing university, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the right person for that job. That's a leap that we're prone to making because we like these simple rules of thumb. In fact, basing our hiring decisions on years of experience is marginally better than studying a person's handwriting. And let me ask you, who would you like to hire? Someone who's been lucky enough to have the best opportunities in their past? Or how about someone who can lead you into the future? Take Abu. Abu is from Kazakhstan and came to Alva as a recent software engineer from his home nation. I'm sure you've guessed that we hired Abu. I'm not going to try to tease out some mock peril like a bad episode of The Apprentice. But let me tell you why. Yes, you'll have worked out that we had a very hard time evaluating his work experience, since it didn't contain any employers we knew of and we weren't familiar with his university. Furthermore, Abu didn't master the coding language that we used, but his potential was stellar. He was bright, ambitious, hardworking, and team-oriented. And those soft skills can seldom be taught, but coding languages can. Unsurprisingly, he was, and still is, a star. And this is also why my friend recommended her nephew Sam to focus on his skills rather than worry about choosing this or that subject. This is why soft skills are not just fluffy terms. Rather, they're key to future-proofing your hiring. It's about finding those qualities that will make employees grow and perform over time in your company and enable you to grow in the emerging landscapes that none of us have yet seen. Now, you might be wondering, so is this focus on soft skills all about finding top talent, those who can climb the corporate ladder and become a future CEO? But not at all. Focusing on potential means focusing on fit, on matching your particular strengths with a particular role. And nowhere is this clearer than in leadership positions. So let me ask you, have you ever had a terrible manager? Maybe you've got one now. Someone who's brilliant in their field, but simply shouldn't be a manager to begin with. Well, chances are you have. I mean, there are 9 seasons of The Office predicated on a man who rises but has zero aptitude for being a manager. And reality isn't much better. Studies show that about 1/3 of all internal promotions fail. And every single one of them costs the company about £45,000 and up. And one of the most common mistakes is promoting those who seem qualified but who lack the underlying characteristics that make you fit for leadership. And for a minute, if I may, take me as an example. For the longest time, I felt stressed about getting onto the leadership track. I figured it was the way to develop and raise my career. And why did I think that way? Well, isn't that how careers work? The trajectory of success is to start at entry, work hard, and become a team leader, a manager. You get the rise in status and in paycheck because you tick certain boxes, right? All the arguments said I should aim for a leadership position. There was one problem, however. I was neither good at it nor motivated by it. So when I found out that leadership of teams isn't where my skills lie, I felt stressed. How was I going to realize my ambition? How was I going to harness my skills if I wasn't going to become a manager? But really, this turned out to be a big win for me. I'm with an employer who has realized that a modern organization needs to offer development opportunities also for specialists, and that careers need to go in more directions than straight up a hierarchy. By broadening the sense of what careers can look like, you open up for a much more efficient use of everyone's talents and opportunities to grow the company. In other words, the mind shift that we're discussing here is also about rethinking career structures. It's something I know well because I've had the opportunity not to be a terrible manager, and I'm lucky to be able to use my soft skills of autonomy, knowledge development, and creativity to be talking to you. So now imagine a world where the people who are on your managerial track are actually the ones who should be on your managerial track. Those who really love helping others to succeed. Those who understand how to harness team strengths, how to juggle in-house, freelancers, consultants, how to spot mental health needs, and how to really listen to their colleagues. In short, those that have the soft skills necessary to be a good manager. If we base our placement decisions more on soft skills, we're able to avoid large human and economic costs and avoid more Michael Scotts of the world. We need to look past conventional chains of promotion, our stereotypes of what managers look like, and who is shouting the loudest to get ahead. Instead, we need to focus on those broad personal characteristics that give someone the right potential to develop great leadership. Employees with high potential for a certain role will also make much more of the training and experience that they receive. For decades, research has shown that when work aligns with our strengths, we're much more likely to develop and grow. We have free fuel, if you will. So people who are more engaged with their work are more productive. Employees who see good opportunities to learn and grow are 2.9 times more likely to be engaged at work. Just think of that terrible manager again. Will their leadership become better over time? Not necessarily, since the work isn't really in concert with their natural strengths. They won't pick up on feedback as effectively, they won't notice the subtle signals, they won't spend as much time and energy trying to improve. So working with future potential is about realizing both people's strengths and their limitations. We might all have periods in our lives when we try to become something we're not. We're not playing to our strengths. As HR teams and leaders, we need to be mindful of this balance between nurturing people's motivations and gently steering them towards their strength areas. Focusing more on future potential and soft skills not only helps us get the right people in the right place, it can also help us build a much more engaging hiring process, since our focus shifts towards the future and towards human growth. Inspecting people's historical track record for proof is all good, but it's a poor fit to a world where change is the new constant. Instead, imagine what your recruitment would look like if inquiry into people's soft skills took center stage. So imagine a job interview where the number one focus is what the candidate wants to develop into, instead of going through a CV that both of you have already read. One of our customers, a large engineering firm, is already spearheading this, and the results are clear. As one of their recruiters told me, I can have the most skilled, well-educated candidate in the room, and then I start asking about their future aspirations, and there's just no spark. No match with the change orientation that we're craving at our company. And then I know straight away that this is not the right candidate for us, and we're not right for them. How about hiring someone based on how fast they can learn some of the things on the job description, and even go beyond those? According to research, these qualities are a lot more important than ticking all the boxes from the outset. We're in the midst of a major transformation of everyone's working life. The pace of change is higher than ever and will continue to be so. As HR leaders, we can choose to stick to our old ways of screening CVs and promoting the usual suspects, or we can choose to make the mind shift and focus on those factors that really matter for long-term performance, soft skills and potential. Ultimately, this is about creating the type of work life that we would like to be a part of, right? One where the focus is more on your future than on your past, where your drive and aspiration and not just historical merits are acknowledged and celebrated. One where the so-called wildcards get a chance to show what they're capable of, and one where leadership is not the only option for someone like myself whose strengths lie elsewhere. But just talking about this isn't enough. We need the data and the common language to make soft skills something concrete and tangible in the organization. And one of the best ways to get there is to use evidence-based, data-driven tools and make them household. In the future, for instance, it will be normal that everyone knows their own personality traits. So knowing whether you're mostly introverted or extroverted, or conventional or innovative, for example, will help you steer towards a suitable career and also communicate that to your manager. None of us know what the future will look like. We don't know what jobs will exist 10 years down the line. It's scary, and it's happening now. So like my friend's nephew, we're all looking out at a future that's uncertain. But what we can know is that soft skills and self-knowledge are two of the most future-proof resources that we have at our disposal. And any tool that can help us understand ourselves and our workforce better will only benefit us. What about those wildcards? What ultimately made them a great fit? Well, potential. As the recruiter told me, now, by focusing more on potential early on in the screening process, a lot more wildcards get a chance with us, and we're better off for it. So let's stop judging people based on where they're coming from and start taking the time to truly understand. Who are you? What are you great at? And how do we build for tomorrow?